Memorizu is one of the most beautiful films that is playing at Tribeca this year. Every frame of this film is oozing with beauty. There is a lyrical quality to every frame in this film, and I was so incredibly in awe of just how beautifully the film has been shot, right? I was really impressed. Uh, and honestly, the film really made me think and reflect a lot on how we choose to preserve memory and how we document our lives. Now, a lot of filmmakers and some really big respected filmmakers today, they are extremely skeptical when it comes to shooting a phone, right? Now, a lot of filmmakers, even today, they are not very keen on shooting mobile phones, on shooting gadgets or laptops or perhaps AI chatbots, which are chat GPTs on the rise, and tech has changed the world, especially post 2020, a world which is hit by recession, which is hit by uh, inflation, and it's a post-COVID world that we live in. We live in a very difficult world, but here comes a film that is, I won't say that the film is embracing tech in its entirety, but I do think that I do think that the film breaks the image of our phones being the villains in our life, right? Because the film does show that these phones that we have with us, when we choose them to document our life, to preserve memory, or to capture special moments, a lot of these moments, they do stay with us, right? Now, this idea on surface might seem very simplistic, right? What is it about this idea that we haven't heard before? Absolutely nothing. It's not a novel idea that today we capture pictures and photographs on our phones, right, to preserve memory. But just the way, just the beauty with which this entire capturing of the world that we see uh, in Memorizu, I think it it's really beautiful. It's really pretty. So the film is directed by Miku Sakanishi, and it follows a man who, visits his father-in-law. Right, his father-in-law has broken his leg, and it's been put in a cast. So he visits his father-in-law, and he leaves behind his wife, who is a tour guide, and the wife, and so his wife and his daughter are at his hometown, and he is actually this man. His name is Yuta. Yuta is visiting his father-in-law, and he is helping him in his day-to-day activities. Every day he wakes up in the morning, he opens the photo studio which is owned by his father-in-law. He actually accompanies his father-in-law, and wherever he goes and he clicks pictures, Yuta accompanies him. Yuta also walks his dog, and a considerable part of this film is just Yuta taking his father-in-law's dog out for a walk, and it's about him observing different aspects of city life. It's about him saying hi to a shepherd or a dairy farmer. At least that is what how I saw that person. He would bow down to that farmer, and that farmer would bow down to him in return. He would take out his phone every from time to time, and he would capture really beautiful frames that he would see around. And the narrative obviously moves from one city to another. So in another city, we would see Yuta's wife, who is actually a tour guide. She shows tourists around Japan, and she also captures all of their special moments. So there are a lot of montages in between, and all of in between the regular scenes that come in, and these montages are shot entirely on phones, right? Particularly especially the footage from the train, where we see the footage which is captured from a moving train, where we see Japan's skyline. And then there is also footage that has been captured where Yuta is driving down a long road which has fields on both sides, and the road is deserted, and the fields are also deserted on both sides. So I think you it's a film that you really have to watch to experience just how beautiful it is, right? And like I was talking about directors who are really not comfortable with when it comes to capturing phones, I think this film really breaks the the myth that that technology is meant that technology is evil, and in many ways big tech is evil. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying that there are no ethical concerns today around AI or technology, but to have a view of technology which is not only, I would say, refreshing, but it's also poetic in a way. That is something which I really did not expect from a film, and I'm pleasantly surprised that this happened, that I got to see this film. There is one specific moment in the film where, uh, without spoiling anything, it really feels like a major character has died, right? And my heart was in my mouth at that point of time when I was like, okay, is his father-in-law dead? Has he died? But to my surprise, you end up discovering something completely different, and that's not how things go. And the things don't go in that direction. So, not only are the frames in this film very poetic, the dialogue, the conversation is also very poetic, because at one point we see, Yuta's father-in-law. Both Yuta is actually driving him back to his home. Yuta's father-in-law is Makoto. So Makoto tells Yuta that there was a time when he was driving down a road and he saw, a mountain was set ablaze, right? And the mountain was on fire, and he was really scared. He stopped his car, he got down, and his daughter Yuki, I think is her name, she said, "How beautiful is this?" So I mean, it really makes you think. That scene, it really causes you to think and reflect on what you are watching and what beauty really is. Because, as we all know, we all have heard the phrase, beauty is terror. So, it's a terrifying scene that an entire mountain is on fire and flames have engulfed the vegetation that on that mountain, and it's really dark in the night, and you see this mountain from a distance and it's on fire. It can be a very scary, almost intimidating scene for anybody to witness. But then such are children, that children find wonder in the most scary things. And then, this young girl says that, this mountain looks really beautiful. And then we see the same thing happen towards the end of the film when, the family unites, right? The grandfather and the wife and Yuta, when they all come together, and the young child, we really see, them all unite. And we see the fields around them, they are being burnt, right? Because of, I'm assuming what it's because of a harvesting season, and that is why, those fields are being burnt. And she again finds beauty in that frame. So I think so much of the film is about finding beauty in everyday life, finding beauty in ordinary conversations, and finding, beauty in just preserving memory, right? And we see this happen not just through photographs but also through a voice memo, because towards the end, this daughter, Yuki, I think, she tells her father that she doesn't even remember what her mother sounds like, because it's been so long since she has lost her. And then Makoto actually plays a voice memo, right? And that is how, and then that is when, again, so that was the moment when I knew what the politics of the film is. I knew that the film is trying to make us appreciate, technology as a chronicler of life itself, right? So the film is trying to make a larger point about how technology can be used to preserve our precious moments, and that there is beauty in that in that preservation also. So when I heard the voice note and then the screen fades to black and we actually hear an everyday ordinary conversation about buying salmon, I think I think I was awestruck. That is not something that I had expected. And then we see Yuta secretly trying to click a picture of the very moment and trying to capture the very moment when Makoto is actually playing the voice note for Yuki. So I think that moment is, it's stuck. It was stuck in my head, and he clicks a picture, and then by clicking that picture, the shutter sound that the camera makes, it ends up interrupting the conversation between, the father daughter duo. And they both look at him, because it was intrusive in a way, but his thought obviously was in the right place. He wanted to preserve that moment. So again, I think I really love films, and I'm a sucker for films. And So first of all, I've been reviewing films for a really long time, and there are so many films that I have watched. And honestly, I love films which find beauty in everyday, ordinary things. And I think Memorizu is a film that does exactly that. It finds beauty in everyday conversations, in routine work. Every day, Yuta wakes up and he changes the open sign to close, the close sign to open sign, and then at night he reverses that placard, and he's to indicate. So basically he does this to indicate whether the photo studio is open or not. And it's a really, really good film, you guys. And honestly, uh, what I also liked was the bonding between the father-in-law and the son-in-law. I think there is a scene where he actually makes his son pose before the camera, and it's a film where the lighting, and the way that scene has been shot, it's so beautiful because the lighting in that scene is very dim, right? And the camera is set up, and the flash goes on, and and then this old man, he keeps clicking the flash, he keeps clicking the picture again and again, and the flash goes off multiple times, right? And then the son-in-law is actually quite amused by it, and it's a very nice, playful moment between the two men, which I really appreciated. I think, and particularly the contrast between the flash going off and the dim atmosphere of that room. I think the lighting in that scene is really, the set design and the production design in that scene is really, really, phenomenal. In another scene, we see images being projected on a wall, and those images play back one after another, and there is also a shutter sound. I am not sure if it's called the shutter sound. I'm not well versed with the technicality of it, but I do think the sound that the projector makes when it's switching from one image to another, we hear that sound, and one by one the images keep changing, and that's poetry in motion, right? And if I were to write a written review of Memorizo, because I do often write long form reviews which are 800 to 1000 words long. Now, if I were to write a review, the headline that I would give to this review is poetry in motion, because the film is literally poetry in motion, and it also shows how poetry can also exist as a part of moving frames, which is cinema. And as a film critic, I cannot think of a better film to have reviewed for this edition of Tribeca Film Festival. And, I think that there is a beauty to everyday life that we live. There is a beauty in everyday ordinary things that we do, the food that we eat, the people that we meet. And, life may not be very extravagant, and it needn't be very swanky for us to find beauty in it. Life can be ordinary and it can still be beautiful. And I just want to say one more thing here, that talking about phones and how phones are used to preserve memory, and just preservation of memory in general. It can come across, you know if I were to make a film on this, I would find it really difficult to convey this message without sounding pretentious or without making it very obvious. But the film does it in a way which is like it's really effective, and it also, it's so simple in the sense that it just flows. You don't feel even at a single point that the film is trying to hammer into you the importance of preserving your life every day via phones, right? So that is something which I absolutely loved. And if there is any filmmaker who still thinks that phones are very difficult to shoot, that it's very difficult to shoot tech devices, I think we see a MacBook, a white colored MacBook, and an app and a watch. I'm assuming that's an Apple Watch. We see Yuta use all of these gadgets around him, and yet he lives a very beautiful life. So and then he also talks about, and we also know that the film is set in a post-COVID world. He does talk about the fact that he missed the birth of his baby girl because he was caught in a different place due to COVID. And uh, I think the film is almost like a balm to, it's like a balm that soothes our nerves, because all of us are living post 2020, and post 2020 we know that the world has changed. In a lot of ways it has changed for the worse. So the film not only acknowledges those harsh realities, it also shows that we can coexist with these realities and still live a beautiful life. And for that thought itself, this film is worth watching. If you like this review, please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned because there are two more reviews coming up on my YouTube channel from this year's Tribeca Film Festival. And have you watched the film? Did you like it? And what are your thoughts on it? Do let me know in the comments below. Thank you.